Hello guys. But then Wesley climbed down, and I could hear him dragging his big back up to the top of the stair. Then he rolled down the stair and crashed at the bottom again, followed by more tears. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this went on for an hour and a half. I saw Wesley would wear himself out, but he never did. I remember that he stranger that they couldn't find the babysitter from Wesley, and now that was starting to make a lot of sense. I figured I was gonna have to punish Wesley for locking me in the laundry room once I got out of there. What he deserved was a good spanking, but I figured that probably wouldn't fly with the stranger. I decided I'd give Wesley a time out because that's what my parents always did when I misbehaved as a little kid. In fact, when I was little, I even got time out from Roderick. Then, since I had no idea Roderick didn't actually have the authority to give me time out, and I can't tell you how many hours I lodged in that time out chair when Roderick was babysitting me. One time I was throwing a ball in the house while I was home alone with Roderick, and I accidentally knocked over the wedding photo of Mom and Dad. Roderick gave me a half-hour time out for that on. When Mom and Dad got home, they saw the broken picture and asked which one of us had done it. I told them it was me, but that they didn't need to give me a punishment because I'd already got time for a Roderick. But Mom said the only people who could hand on punishment were her dad. So I ended up serving a double time out for breaking that picture. I figured Wesley deserved a triple time out for locking me in the laundry room, but it was getting very late, and now it would look bad if the strain came home and I was still locked inside. So I started looking for another way out. There was a spare freezing blocking the door to the back deck. So I pushed with all my might and gave myself just enough room to squeeze through and open the door. It was really cold outside and I was only wearing a t-shirt and jeans. I tried to open the front door, but it was locked. I decided if I was gonna catch these kids off guard, I'd need the element of surprise, so I walked around the house and tried all the windows on the ground floor until I found one that was unlocked. I then punched it open and crawled inside. I landed head first in someone's bedroom, and after I looked around and realized it must be Laura's. Lucky side, it was freezing cold outside, so I need to warm up before going after Wesley. But I really regret taking a few minutes to do that, because during the time I was in Laura's room, Mr. and Miss Stranger came home. Hopefully we can all have a good chuckle about this story at some future Thanksgiving too, but I think it's gonna be a while before Mr. Stranger is ready to laugh about this on. After blowing my change with Laura Stranger, I pretty much give up on finding someone to take to the dance. It's only 3 days away, and by now everyone who is going is already paired up with someone else. So I figured I'd be spending Saturday night at home playing video games by myself. But yesterday Rolly gave me some news after one of these dance committee meetings that changed everything. He said Abigail Brown was upset during the meeting because the boy he was going with Samson has a family obligation and had to cancel on her. Snow has a dress and on no one to go to the dance with. So the stage is set for me up and the hero. I told Rolly it was his big chance to come through as my wingman and hook me up with the dance. I really know me, and I kind of doubt she'd go to the dance with a person she doesn't know. So I told Rolly she'll tell a baby girl there for us could go to the dance together as a group of friends. Rolly seemed to like that idea because he's been doing all this work on the dance committee and didn't have an eye on to go with either. I figured that 3-4 us could go to the dinner and the restaurant. A Belgian would get to see what a great guy I was. By the time we got to the dance with Walk and the couple, the only problem was they would need the read I wasn't about to ask Mom for on because the seat in our minivan are crossed with the cherries and good knows what else. Plus, having Mom alone on my date could be a total disaster. I know if I really wanted to impress Abluja, I don't to rent the limo, but those things cost a fortune. Then I had an idea. Rolly's dad has a really nice car, so I figured if I could get him to drive us, I wouldn't even have to know Mr. Jefferson was Rolly dad. If we didn't say anything, it's just since he was a professor driver, maybe I'll even get him on of the dude's heads. Kafours were to real shelter idea. Of course, we couldn't be able to say anything to Mr. Jefferson. Either me and him kind of have a bad story, and I'm sure he wouldn't be looking to do me any extra favor. Since I started falling into place today, Rolly talked to, and she liked the whole groups and friends idea. And on after that, Mr. Jefferson agreed to drive us to dance. So now I am keeping my figure crossed that nothing will happen between now and Saturday night to screw things up. Friday, I told Uncle cry about the dance, and he seems even more excited about it than I am. He wanted to know all the details, like how many people were gonna be there and the day horrid DG, but I didn't know the answer to his question because really the honor of the dance committee and that stuff is kind of is the department. I was more focused on feeding something where Uncle cried to did me if I really want to impress my dad. I should very sweet. I went and Roderick clothes and found it so sweet that he's actually working off the Uncle Cry wedding. I couldn't find any clothes in Roderick junk drawer, but I did find a bottle of that body spray Rio was advertising on TV. I was a little nervous about using it so because that stuff really works like they say in the ad. Then tomorrow night could be nightmare. My dear uncle Perry passed away a few years ago, and I know we had the box with some of the personal stuff in the garage. I found a bottle of his cologne and tried a little on my wrist. I made me smell exactly like Groot Uncle Bro, but I figured safe than using that body spray. When asked that to talk me to the grocery store, I brought a box of those Valenti chocolate for Abigail. I never should have taken the cell phone off the box through because I already helped myself to the buttercream, peanut custard, and caramels. How fully liked the coconut chocolate and on that tastes like toothpaste because that's all that's really left at this point. Saturday tonight was the height of Big Valentine's Day dance, and it cut off the really rough start. When I went over the Rolly house to get ready, I noticed he had little red bump on his face that looked like mosquito bit. But then I realized when those power chicken box. Our science event with head show up at the school with chicken box a few weeks ago. It's been spread like with fire in my class. This past week, 4 boys were sent home by the school nurse. I'm pretty sure one of those guys was the med panties because there haven't been any pants seen inside to this day. I've heard chicken books in the super condition, and whenever a kid gets in they're not allowed to come back to school for a week. But I couldn't afford to have rolled out of commission for even a night. He was my right to dance, and I know that it his mom and dad let me hold down. I couldn't go easy. I told Raul he had the chicken box, and I probably should have broken the news to him slowly instead out of at the ounce. Rolly was gonna go straight down Sarah and tell his parents, but I told him to calm down and we'd figure this out together. I said if he could just get through his night without talking, and I would own him for the rest of my life. All I need to do was cover up his chicken box and not make a big stink to his parents. We'd both go to the dance and have a great time, and none of would even have to know. But Rolly was too freaked out to sing a story, and I had to give him 2 coconut chocolate to quiet him down. Now that Rolly knew he had the chicken pox, he was gonna crazy with the itching, so I got some sock out of his dress and put him on his hands. I figure Rolly mom and dad probably know what chicken pox. Hello guys. When I went over the Rolly house to get ready, I noticed he had little red bumps on his face that looked like mosquito bite. But then I realized what those supposed were chicken bugs. Every science event with and show up at a school wide chicken box a few weeks ago. It's been spreading like wildfire in my class. This past week 4 boys were sent home by the school nurse. I'm pretty sure one of those guys was the med panthers because there haven't been any panting inside Tuesday. I even heard chicken box in super contagious, and whenever a kid gets the dry not allowed to come back to school for a week. But I couldn't afford to have rolled out of commission work for even a night. He was my right to the dance, and I knew that if his mom and dad didn't let me, then I couldn't go either. I thought Rolly he had the chicken box, but I probably should have broken the news to him slowly standing up all of the ounce. Rolly was gonna go straight to the store and tell his parents, but I told him to calm down and we'd figure this out together. I said if he could just get through his night without telling anyone, I'd own him to the rest of my life. All I need to do was cover up his chicken box and not make a big stink to his parents. We would go to the dance and have a great time, and no one would even have to know. But Rolly was too freaked out to sing a story, and I had to give him 2 coconut chocolate to quiet him down. Now that Rolly knew he had the chicken box, he was going crazy with the teaching, so I got some sock out of his dress and put them on his hands. I figured Rolly mom and dad probably knew what chicken books looked like, and he had to find a way to cover them up. So we went into his parents' bathroom and looked through his mom's makeup kit to see if there was anything we could use. I found some stuff called clearly, and that sounded about right to me. I used a little brush I found in the drawer and then tried to cover up the problem area on Rolly's face. But you could totally tell that Rolly was wearing makeup, so I grabbed a silk scarf from the top of Mr. Jefferson's dessert and told Rolly to put it on and cover up around his mouth. Then I noticed he had a few chicken bites on his forehand, so I found a piece that had in his mom's closet and had him put that on too. I'm not gonna say Rolly looked totally normal, but at least you couldn't tell he had the chicken bites. I kind of held my breath when we got into the car, but I see Mr. Jefferson just throw Rolly get up was some kind of middle school fashion thing that he didn't say a word. When I opened the back door to get in, I was pretty surprised to find Rolly old Buster seat taken on off the spot. I asked Rolly where he still had a Buster seat in his dad's car, and his side tray just never looked it out once he got big enough for the regular seat. But come to think of it, I'm always also Rolly seems a little too tall whenever he drove by with his family. I know we had to take that thing out before they went to pick up a boy because a limo company would never have a booster seat in one of its car. But you needed to be some kind of an engineer figure out how to collapse on that scene. By that point we were already late picking up, so we had to just alive it. When we pulled into driveway, I asked Mr. Jefferson to honk to horn to let her know we were there. But Mr. Jefferson wouldn't honk the horn because he thought that only way to irritate the lady he said on us was gonna have to go to the hair salon there and escort her. Rolly started to get out, but I realized that there was a big chance to make a good first impression on. So I walked up to the house and knocked on the door, but didn't come to the front door here. That did. Apparently, Mr. Jefferson said the truth, or just like dropping up like on. Mr. Brown said was upstairs getting ready and head down in the minute. He told me to come inside and have a seat while I waited. It felt like we were sitting there an hour waiting for to come downstairs, and Rolly didn't like the look of the handcuff Mr. Brown had on his belt. I finally decided this was way too much serious for a voluntary day dance and was ready to bail out, but right as I went to leave, come down the stairs, the first thing I noticed was that was wearing a really puffy dress, and I knew there was no way there was us were gonna fit the back seat of Mr. Jefferson's car, but there was no way I was sitting in Rolly Buster's seat either, so I voluntarily to raid out from beside. Now Mr. Jefferson had hit front seat, so I figured I might as well take advantage of that. Mr. Jefferson had the pile of paper in the passenger seat because I guess he was planning on doing his test or something while he was waiting for us at the dance. It was too much of the house to move all that stuff, so I decided to just hop in the very back of the car so we couldn't get on with the night. Didn't seem to bother by the fact that Rolly was sitting in the booster seat. I'm pretty sure he saw he was just doing it. It was a joke. But Homer, it kind of my thing, and I wasn't about to let Rolly sit my thunder. It got kind of quiet in the car, so I asked Mr. Jefferson if he could turn off the radio. But instead of putting on some music, he turned it into the Submarine Talk radio station and station, and that's what we had to listen to for the rest of the ride. I'm pretty sure he just did that because he was annoying. I called him driver. Rolly and Bolly got into conversation, but I was right next to a speaker on the back, and I couldn't really hear what they were saying. When Mr. Jefferson pulled over, I saw we were at the restaurant, but we stopped at the repair shop to pick up Mr. Jefferson's vacuum cleaner. At that point, I wished I just coughed up too many for a limo, because a professional driver wouldn't have ran it on the way to the restaurant. I made a reservation at Cypergame, which is that fancy restaurant Mom and Dad are always talking about. I knew it might be a little pricey, but I'd saved a lot of money from tours and really wanted a price. I'll be looking like a big shot. When we pulled into the parking lot, Mr. Jefferson opened the bag for me, but when I got out, my suit was covered in all this grassy smell from the vacuum cleaner. I didn't want to look like a slob, so I just left my jacket in the car and we went into restaurant together. I was hoping Raul will take it home and stay back with that, but he came right along with us. Was a lot fancier lessons to it would be when we locked in the house told us this was an upscale establishment and then gentlemen were required to wear sport jacket, but there was no way I was gonna wear my dirty suit jacket, so I asked the host if he couldn't just make an expansion his own of time. He said they couldn't, but that the restaurant had sport jacket. I called him bro. The one he gave me was a little big, but I put it on anyway. When he sat down, I noticed a troublesome and tried to figure out where it was coming from. Then I realized that it was coming from me. I guessed that a longer jacket had been used by 100 different people without ever being washing. I didn't want to smell like somebody else, nobody outdoor during dinner. So I exhausted myself to go to the bathroom and scrubbed the sport jacket on the arm with soap and the water. Then dried them with the hand dryer. Good morning. Goodbye. Well, that just made it worse because they had activated the boo and it sprayed. That was it for me. I told Abigail and Raul this place was for funnies and we should just take off. I left my jacket with the host at the front and the three of us walked out of the door. I said maybe we should just skip dinner and go right to the dance, but Abigail said she was really hungry and Raul said he was starving too. The only other restaurant in the area was currently and I told them there was no way I was going there, but Raul said he really gets the dessert bar and corny, and Abigail said that sounded good to her. I was really starting to regret having Rolly alone on this date, because if all he was gonna do was take Abigail said I'd get outvoted every single time, but I didn't want to make a big deal about it in the middle of my date, so I just bit my lip and we walked 3 blocks the corner. Luckily, I remember about the tie issue before we walked in the front door, and I stuffed mine in my back pocket at the last second. But I didn't have time to warn Rolly, so now, but it's tie apartment, part of the wall of shame. Corny was a total zoom. My family usually goes on a weeknight, but it's whole different second on a Saturday. The good news was that since we didn't have any little kids with us, they didn't sit us in children LA, but the adult section of Cornery wasn't a whole lot better. all that separate the two sides in some glass, and we got stayed right next to a family with a bunch of wild kids. I asked our waitress if we could move, and she made a sore face and took our stuff to another table. But I wish we had just stayed where we were, because our new situation wasn't an improvement. I didn't want to ask the waiter to move was a second sign, because the last person you want to make a mad it is person who is serving you your food. So I put a couple of minutes up against the window to block my wave. Or waiter brought out corn chips and really took the sock off his hand to his cold head. I didn't think it was such a great idea for all of us to be grabbing chips out of the same basket while Rolly had the chicken box. So I keep it near me. Every time Rolly looked like he wanted a chip, I punished him with a straw. I couldn't remember if the chicken box in airborne. So whenever Wally talked, I held my breath just to be sure. At one point, they told us a really long story about something that happened to him last summer, and by then I almost passed it out. I told Abigail and Rolly that I was paying for dinner, so they should get whatever they want. I was trying to off a little for Abigail by throwing my money around. But when the waiter came back, Abigail ordered two appetizers, and so did Rolly. The waiter couldn't understand what Rolly was saying, because the waiter couldn't understand that Rolly was saying because of his scarf. So and he pulled it down to speak, but when he did, a single molecule of spit flew in the air and landed on my bottom lip. It let me jaw go totally slack so the muscles wouldn't get into my mouth. I tried to stay calm on the outside, but on the inside I was totally freaking out. I wanted to wipe my lip with my napkin, but I dropped it on the floor and couldn't reach it. So I waited until Abigail was distracted and then wiped my lip on her sleeve. We placed our order, and I asked for a plain hamburger to save money. Abigail ordered the T-bone steak, which is the most expensive time on the menu, and Rolly got the same thing. Even so, I was trying to signal for him to order something cheap. When our food came out, my hamburger had lettuce and tomato on it, because at corner they always get your order wrong. I took off the lettuce and tomato, but there was mayonnaise on my burger too. When our waiter came around again, I told her I'd ordered a burger with nothing on it. So she took a napkin and just wiped the mayonnaise off, then left the napkin right in the middle of the table. I lost my appetite after that, but even if I was hungry, I probably wouldn't have finished that meal anyway. If you clean your plate at corner trees a picture at the bottom, that I really can't stand. I just said that a white will Abigail and Rolly ate their steak, and when they finished, I signaled for the waiter to come over so I could pay the bill. But then Rolly and Abigail said they wanted dessert. The whole reason we came to corner is the first place was for a dessert bar, which comes free with your meal. But of course, Rolly and Abigail each wanted to order a special dessert off the menu, which cost extra. I got up and phoned our witness to tell her it was real birthday because I know then I'd get a free dessert. So a few minutes later, the waiter and waitresses all come out and sang happy birthday to Reali and give him his free cake. Eblik still ordered a triple layer chocolate cheesecake, which he only took to bite out of. When the bill came, I couldn't believe how much it was. I had to use all the money in the wallet, and I even had to pull out the few $5 I was keeping in my sock in case of an emergency. The waiter wouldn't take the money I had in my sock because it was a little wet, so I had to go out of the car and ask Mr. Jefferson if he had the $5 bill he couldn't trade. When I got back to the table, Rolly and Eblige were in the middle of the conversation, and it seemed to me like they were sitting a little closer than when I'd left. Goodbye. Hello guys. I thought about giving Eblige a heads up that she might want to keep her distance from Rolly, but I was afraid she'd bail on the date if she found out about the chicken box. The three of us got back in the car and Mr. Jefferson drove us to school and dropped us off at the front door. He gave Rolly a big hug, which I'm sure seemed pretty worried to Eblige if she thought he really was a professional driver. The theme of the dance was Midnight in Paris, and I have to admit the dance committee did a pretty good job. The games was decked out. They looked like a street in France. There was a long table set up with sponge and snack, and there was even a chocolate fountain with strawberries for dipping. We had an order or ticket and then got in line for a photo. Each couple had their picture taken in front of a backdrop of Paris. When it was our turn, I stood with Abigail and the photograph snapped our photo, but I wish I knew Rolly was gonna get in the picture with us because I would just keep in it. Something about the DJ looked familiar to me, and when I got closer, I realized it was Uncle Cry. Don't even ask me how he got a job. Uncle Cry must have seen it as an opportunity to unload his t-shirt on my classmate. It was dark in the gym, so kids didn't know they were getting wrapped off. On minute, Emily was standing right next to me, and next she was gonna. I finally spotted her on the other side of the gym talking with her friend. I walked over to them, but before I got there, they all went into the grill bathroom together. I have no idea what it is about grill that make them go to the bathroom in groups, but something about it happening now really made me nervous. I didn't know what Abigail said of me, but I figured she was probably tell her friend right at that moment. The boys' bathroom is right next to the girl in the gym, so I went in there and pressed my ear to the wall. I could hear a lot of giggling, but I couldn't really make out the conversation because of the racket in the boy bathroom. I tried to get people to stop making noise, but it was no use. I got quite on the other side of the wall, so I walked back into gym, and Abigail and her friend were over by the bunch. At 7:40, Uncle Croy turned up the music, and in the local like the dancing was gonna get started for real. But that's when some people my grandma age started trickling in. By 8, there must have been in hundreds of them crowded around the entrance. There was some sort of commotion between one of the teacher and a few of the senior citizens, so I got closer to see what was going on. The senior citizen climbed for a town meeting about the new senior center. Mr. Shear told them she reserved the game for the dance 2 weeks ago, but the senior said they served it 2 months ago and they had the paperwork to prove it. The senior center people said us kids were gonna have to clear out of the gym so they could have their meeting. But then some of the girls on the dance committee got in on the conversation and it looked like it was about to get ugly. Just when it seems like a fight was gonna break out, Mr. Shear suggested a compromise. She said we could up the operation in the middle of the gym and the senior could have their meeting on half and us kids could have our dance on the other. Everybody seemed to be able to live with that idea and the janitor put up the operation. Losing half of the gym was kind of a bummer, but what killed the mood was the latest. The only one was switch for the overhead lights in the gym, and they had to be there alone. More all of the senior citizen wasn't them on for their meeting, so that was the end of the midnight in the Paris vibe over on overside of the gym. The bright lights were bad on Uncle cried because now all the kids who brought shirts from him could see they been ripped off and on start demanding three monkey back. Uncle tried to distract everyone by turning the music up and a lot of people hit the dance floor. The girl danced in the big group in the middle of the gym. Everyone in while a guy will try to dance his way into the group, but the girls had formed the kind of wall that kept the boys out. I didn't really understand that until I tried to make a move to break into the circle and got to totally block it. One of the seniors came over the overside of the gym and complained that the music was too loud and needed to be turned way down. So Uncle Carl lowered the volume by about 18%, and then we couldn't hear every word of the senior center meeting. That didn't seem to bother the girls, though a lot of them took out their personal music players and just kept dancing. By that point, most of the boys had had enough. All that time being on their best behavior around the girl and taking it toll, and a lot of the guys just totally cut loose. Mr. Shear and the rest of the chaperones tried to calm the boy down, but it was hopeless. It was a really wild scene, and it was actually getting a little dangerous. I saw about going over the seat to get out of everyone's mind, but at the moment the Mad Panthers struck again, and I decided I was better off where I was. Every once in a while, a few latecomers would like in and turn right back around when they saw what was happening in the gym, but at around 9, Michael Sampson walked in holding hand with Cherry Belanger. Michael was the boy Biggie and supposed to go to the dance with, but I guess his family obligation story was just a lie. And judging from the look on his face, I don't think he was expecting Obligate to be there either. After that, it was just a whole lot of drama. Michael took off and left his dad behind, and Abigail spent the next hour bawling her eyes out in the corner of the gym. I did what I could to help make Abigail feel better, but she kind of had a curl around the hips, so I'm not sure he actually noticed. Right about that time, she senior center meeting were open, and a few of the seniors started drifting over the overside of gym and helping themselves to the refreshment. They went through the strawberry bar pretty quick, and then there was nothing for people to dip in the chocolate fountain. So like started sticking their finger directly in the fountain, and it was corny all over again. And Kyle lost the contact lens in the chocolate fountain, and Mr. Chair and everyone stand by so she could fish it out when it cyclically black through. Since the meeting was over, Uncle Corey turned the music back up, but the old folk started making song requests, and the next thing you know, over Valentine Day dance was overrun by senior citizens. I just watched everything play out from my spout against the black wall, wondering why I did even wanted to go to the dance in the first place. I was also starting to regret not wearing to body spray found in Roderick junk drawer, because great Uncle Bruce Cullen was attracting people outside my age groups. It was almost 10, and Uncle Cray announced that the next songs would be the last one of the night. When our music started playing, a few kids piled up and walked out on the dance floor as couple, which was the first time that had happened all night. I couldn't wait for a sign to end, because the dance was a total disaster, and just wanted to go home and play some video games so I could erase the whole experience for my brain. But just when I saw things couldn't get any worse, I saw Robbie Bray, and she was coming right for me. I didn't know if she was gonna ask me to dance, or if I'd somehow done something to make her mad, but I didn't want to end up getting beaten at the middle school dance. I looked up for some way to escape, but I was trapped. Lanky Abigail walked out of the bathroom at the exact moment, and I grabbed her hand just before Robbie go to the hem. Abigail's makeup was a mess from all the crying, but I didn't really cry. I was just happy to have an excuse to get away from Robbie, and to be honest with you, I think Abigail was happy to see me too. So I led her to an empty spot on the dance floor. I'd never slow danced with a girl before, so I didn't know where I was supposed to put my hands. She put hers on the shoulder, and I put mine in my pocket, but that felt kind of dumb. So we went in the middle, and that seemed about right. Then I noticed something on Abigail's chin. It was a little right dumb bomb that looked exactly like one of all the chicken books. Now, before I say what happened next, let me just explain in my defense that I was already on edge about the whole chicken pox thing, but I admit I may have overreacted a little. It turned out it wasn't chickenpox, so it was just a pimpy one. Emily was crying. His makeup must have washed off her chin. A way I know now, but no one in the shows probably wouldn't recall the song exactly why I did. But I don't think Abigail saw it that way, because on our way home she wasn't real chatty with me. When we pulled up the Abigail's house, Rolly walked her to the front door. That was fine with me, because it gave me a chance to finish off the rest of chocolate, and after a night of the just had, I was totally serene. Wednesday, a lot of has happened since the voluntary day dance. A few days ago, Uncle cried about a bunch of scratch card with money he made selling t-shirt. And after his card was a $40,000 winner, so he paid that the money he owed him. Washed me luck with a ladies and moved out of the house. The other big news in that I got a full blow case of the chicken pox. I can't say for sure how I got them, but I really hope it wasn't from Rowley, because I'm not tech crazy, but the idea of the branch of Rowley virus cells attacking my immune system. I'm pretty sure I didn't get the chicken pox from Rowley, so I've been in walking to school to pass the day, and from what I can tell, has been wearing his mom's makeup on his chin, so I think to red bump might have been pimple, just like Abigail. And speaking of Rowley and Abigail, I heard that the two of them are a couple now. All I can say if that true is make Rowley the roast wingman in story. I am supposed to stay home from school for at least a week. The good news in that with everyone out of the house, I can take a long bus without any bothering me, but I will admit all that floating around isn't great as I remember it. And after just an hour, your skin gets all wrinkly, so didn't ask me how I lived that mile from 9 months. Plus, I get a little lonely being by myself all day, or at least I see I'm alone. Today I had the fresh towel next to the top, and then I opened my eyes in the go. No, is there somebody missing with me, or generic cried in at the again? Oh my gosh. Finish book. Good morning. Goodbye.